diagnosed with a severe mental illness and I live on my own. This video is about 3 things that show how I managed to do it. If you're new here, my name is Kit and I'm diagnosed with schizoaffective disorder, which is a condition where someone experiences symptoms of schizophrenia, such as delusions and hallucinations, but also symptoms of a mood disorder, either major depression or in my case, bipolar. As you can guess, being schizoaffective can get really intense sometimes. And I want to say that I didn't always live alone. It took time. Like many of us, I lived with my family growing up, and when I went off to college, I lived with roommates. After college, I moved to New York City and I lived with roommates again. Then I had a psychotic break and ended up moving back in with my dad once I came home. Over the next few years, I put my life together and built a life that I truly believe is worth living. And then I moved out again. I started living on my own in August of 2020 and I've been alone ever since. I'm super proud of myself and I'm very, very grateful. I'm also fully aware that this is not normal and I'm not here to brag. This video is just me saying how I make it work. Nothing more, nothing less. So please don't come at me for any of these things. I'm just a girl doing her best in a super messed up world. So with that out of the way, let's talk about the 3 things that make it possible for me to live on my own with a severe mental illness. The first thing is arguably the most important, and as such, I really need to stress it. I follow my treatment plan no matter what. I take medication to treat my disorder and it works very, very well. My meds successfully treat my psychosis, my mood symptoms, and my OCD. And I continue to stay compliant with those meds and take them every single day. I also go to therapy often, like super often. Right now it's once a week, and that helps me deal with my mental health and the effects it has on my life. My therapist and I have very productive sessions, and all I can say is that talking with a professional really does make a difference. Because my therapist really knows how to help me because she's trained on how to help. And the other thing to mention here with this one is that I practice skills that I learned in dialectical behavior therapy, or DBT. I have a combined 1.5 years of classes on it, which means I've taken the course 3 times. And DBT itself is a combination of a few things. Interpersonal effectiveness, distress tolerance, emotion regulation, and mindfulness are the 4 pillars that make up the program. DBT has helped me cope with what the world throws at me, and I use my skills all the time. So I can't stress enough how much it's helped me learn how to live my life in a healthy way. I can't say I'm perfect in skills. I still mess up and sometimes choose not to use them, but they are one of the biggest reasons that I was able to get my life together. I mean, honestly, it might have been the main reason I was able to get my life together. So with my therapist, my meds, DBT, and of course my medication provider, I am all set to go. I'd say my entire treatment team is definitely one of the reasons I'm able to live alone with a severe mental illness. The next thing is more general, and it's that I have a lifestyle that supports stability. But what does that mean? Well, I first need to say that this is what makes me stable, so it might not be what makes someone else stable. But for me, what makes up a stable lifestyle includes a few things. The first thing is I have a full-time job that is a regular, but flexible 9 to 5. I work as a lab tech and it's a mostly stress-free environment, even if my brain is skilled at creating stressful feelings at times. I move clear liquids into other clear liquids and eventually get published, which is so fun. But anyways, going to a job with regular hours is what's best for me in my situation. It's a routine environment and I need that. Also, my boss knows about my mental illness. The whole story. And I have made a video about that, which I will link up here and in the description. Part of having my boss know is so that I can ride the ups and downs of my disorder without losing my job in the process. I can take a day off when I need it, and sometimes I do need it. And this job pays me well, which brings me to the next thing that helps me have a stable lifestyle. Renting an apartment by myself because I have a stable income. AKA the actual thing that helps me live alone in the most literal sense. So I have to mention it. In the short I made on this topic, which kind of went a little bit wild there, I talked about how I live in a 2-bedroom apartment that my job pays for. And some people got very upset with me for some reason, but I do want to say that the only reason I have a 2-bedroom apartment is because it was actually cheaper than the 1-bedroom apartment at the complex I live in. So it's kind of a no-brainer for me to get the 2-bedroom. So I love my job for many reasons, put it that way. The next thing is that I have pets. I've spoken about how I have guinea pigs. I've even made videos about my guinea pigs that are on this channel if you go looking for them. But having pets helps with stability. My 3 guinea pigs require daily care, and no matter what, they must get that care. So it helps keep me in line to a degree, which I find helpful. Plus, they love me back, and that is so, so wonderful. Their joyous weeks when I come home from work make me so, so happy. The final bit on this is that I do have hobbies that include the SchizoKitzo project. And I do those hobbies regularly as part of a routine. My workflow for this channel is a very stable routine at this point that has breaks built into it. As many of you know, I create content regularly, and I have for a while. And it's because I have a stable workflow that makes me able to do it. It makes me so happy to see it grow and do well, and that motivates me to keep going. The big idea here is that I have a routine that I do that is fulfilling and makes me feel content and stable. And it includes a job, living situation, pets, and hobbies that enable that stability in a sustainable way. Once again, this can look different for everyone, but this is how I make it work. And it's helped me live alone with a severe mental illness. Finally, I want to talk about my support system and what that means for me. My main support person is my dad. My dad is amazing. We have been through so much together, and he has helped me through some really rough stuff. And as such, I needed to keep him close to me. So I actually ended up only moving out down the street from him. I live about a mile away from my dad, which means that not only is he a phone call away, but he's also a short drive away. My symptoms get really rough sometimes, and so many of those times end up with him coming to get me to go walk the mall or go for a drive. During depressive episodes, when I'm stuck at home, he's usually the one that gets me out of the apartment. And this is one of the biggest reasons I can sustain living on my own, because he is so close to me. But he is not my only support person. This is very important. I have a vast support system that I rely on, and I rely on different people for different things. So let's take a second to talk about it. I've talked about my dad, and he's pretty much first line, but what happens when he's not there? When he doesn't pick up the phone? When he's busy because he has a life too? Well, I have my best friend. I've known her since I was 2, and she's amazing. So I call her. But what happens when she doesn't pick up? I then call my mom, who is also in my life, or even my brother at times. Both are and always will be there for me emotionally. But what if they can't talk? Well, I text or call some other friends. Starting to get the idea? The idea is I have a whole list of wonderful people to talk to and deal with what's happening when it's happening. I have friend groups, multiples of them, that I can also turn to. And plenty of one-on-one friendships also help me. I even have people that reach out and check in on me just to make sure I'm okay. So it isn't just my dad that carries the quote-unquote burden of my mental illness. It's a bunch of people that help me. And I'll talk about mood symptoms to some and psychotic symptoms to others. It just depends on the situation. I try not to dump on the same people every time, and that seems to work to keep everyone from feeling overwhelmed. Of course, I save the really heavy stuff for therapy because my friends and family are no substitute for a trained professional. My family and friends just help me in the meantime. And of course, it's important to note that technically my therapist and medication provider are part of my support system as well, but they already got part of this video, so this part's about the family and the friends. But it is a process to build something like this. And I worked very hard to build it. Very hard. And as such, I'm super grateful that I can call and text and FaceTime those that help me. And that really is one of the biggest reasons I can live alone with a severe mental illness. But know that living alone with schizoaffective disorder is not possible for everyone. And there's nothing wrong with someone who has to live with others when they have this condition. This is just what my life with schizoaffective disorder looks like. So if you or someone you know struggles and cannot live alone, they or you are valid. Hopefully this gave you some insight into how someone can make it work. Someone who showed it is possible to live this way with a severe mental health condition. But other than that, all I can say is thanks for joining me and making the uncomfortable comfortable. Subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you in the next one.